Counting cards can give you up to a 5% advantage over the casino, which is why, if you're caught doing it, you can be forced to flat bet, meaning only bet the same amount between shuffles, or get banned from the game. If you're watching this though, you're not here to give the casino your money, so we're going to take that risk. So why doesn't everybody count cards? Well, while it is easy to learn, it does take some dedicated practice to master. If you're serious about making money at Blackjack though, practice is the least of your worries. Learning how to count is very achievable for everyone. Here's how to get started. Each card is going to be assigned a new value. 2s through 6 cards are going to have a value of +1. Cards 7 through 9 have a value of 0, and 10 through ace are going to be -1. At the start of the shuffle, the count is 0. As the cards start coming out of the shoe, start adding their value to the count. The more high value cards there are in the deck, the more likely you are to be dealt blackjacks and 20s. So when the count is high into the positive, that is when you are wanting to place bigger bets. How big of a bet do you want to make? I'll cover that in just a second. The further into the negative numbers the count gets, the more you're going to want to stick with flat betting or just leaving the table. While you're betting the minimum, you are still going to need to play basic strategy blackjack. So not only are you keeping the count in your head, you need to be able to know when to hit and stand at the right times. Also, you need to be proficient enough at this that you can carry on conversations with the dealer and other players while you're doing it. Because if all you're doing is staring holes through the cards, it's going to become obvious what you're doing, and your days as a card counter are going to be over. Fortunately, this is easy enough to practice with a friend. Like I said, if you keep in mind that making money is the main goal, then all the practice that it takes is going to make it all worth it in the end. Let's look at some examples. So we're dealt our 2 cards at the beginning of the round. The count is 0. We are given an ace, which is a -1 card, and a 6, which is a +1 card. So the count's 0. We look at the dealer's 5, which is a +1 card, brings the count to +1. We'll hit that, get an extra card. Our 4 brings the count up to +2. The dealer takes a card and gets a queen, which is a -1 card, brings the count to +1, and the jack, which brings the total of the count back down to 0, being a -1 card. The dealer goes over, so we win that round, but the count is still 0. Next, we're dealt an ace and a 3, a -1 and a +1 card, so it's still 0. The dealer has a 4, which brings the count up to +1. We're given a 9, which is a 0 card, still +1 is the count. The dealer's dealt a king, which brings the count to 0. And then he's dealt a 4, which brings the count back up to +1. When you start to play, it is important to know how many decks are in the shoe. Having a count of 6 is a lot more advantageous in a 2-deck game than it is in a 6-deck game. In order to make it even no matter how many decks you're playing with, take the count and divide it by the number of decks. This will give you the true count of the table. For instance, if the count is +12 and there are 6 decks being used, the true count would be +2. Now your advantage goes up about 0.5% per each number. So a true count of +1, or just 1, would give you around equal odds with the casino. A true count of 5 would give you a 2% advantage over the casino. How much you want to bet depends first of all on how many cards are left in the shoe. If you have a count of 10 and you're approaching the shuffle, bet big because it's probably all 10s from there. However, how much you want to bet also depends on how much risk you want to take and how big your bankroll is. Don't be discouraged when you start practicing and realize it's going to take longer than you thought it would to master. It's going to take a lot of time, and it's going to be frustrating at points. When this happens, take a quick break and get back to it later. If you make it, you won't regret the work that it took to get there. Subscribe and check out the description for some links that will be a huge help when practicing. Also, find a friend that can learn it with you and help push you along. This is our chance to flip it on the casinos. So good luck out there.